When I realized what I wanted to do as a composer, I realized that it sounded much more like a political mission than purely an artistic mission. You know, I fell into political music pretty early on in my career, and the more political music I wrote, the more I realized that this is why I wrote music. And then the question became, well, what do you hope to achieve with writing political music? And I sort of figured it out as I was going along. You know, this is what I want to achieve. I want to bring voices to the forefront that haven't had a voice before. I want to inspire the next generation to be better than this one, because let's face it, we haven't done the best job. You know, we've done a crappy job, and our hope has to be that the people that come after us do better, and do better faster than we did better than the previous generation. You know, it should be like an acceleration toward a better humanity. And so, you know, once I sort of crystallized those ideas, any kind of, I guess, reluctance I had to market myself as part of marketing my art kind of evaporated. When I first came to the University of Pennsylvania, I had that fear, actually, that my past work as doing political vocal music as an undergraduate was going to hamper me in some way at Penn, because Penn is, you know, Ivy League, and it's, you know, George Crumb and Richard Vernick and all of these people, and this is the tradition that I'm going into. And I spent actually the first year or so of my time at Penn trying very hard to write what I thought was expected of an academic composer. And I got very lucky, again, because my composition professor at Penn, the one I had the longest there, was Jay Reese. And one day in one of my lessons, and I'm so grateful he did this, actually. I came in with this piano piece that was honestly, like, just incredibly, like, intellectual, esoteric, and there were no emotions in it, and it was bullshit. I showed it to him, and, you know, he sort of hummed and hawed, and then he said, Melissa, do you want to go out? Let's go get a coffee instead of discussing this piece. Let's go get a coffee. And I said, okay. And so we went to Starbucks, and he bought me a coffee, and he sat me down in the Starbucks, and he said, Melissa, why are you writing this piece? Why are you writing this kind of music? You had this massive hit with the Gonzalez cantata. Most composers would kill for that kind of connection with an audience and that kind of publicity. Why aren't you writing political music? That's obviously where your heart is. And I felt this flood of relief. And I was like, really? I can do that here? Like, you're actually encouraging me to write the music that I want to write, which, like you said, the Academy has spent decades looking down on. And he's like, yes, of course. Why wouldn't, of course, go and do that. Like, let's do that. a myth, right, in the composition world, and particularly the academic composition world, that it has to be difficult, and that means you're smart. Like, the more difficult a piece is to rehearse and perform and get together, the more intellectual you must be. And that's a weird idea, isn't it? It's such a weird idea. Because, I mean, you know, it's, I performed in the orchestra for the Brahms Requiem, the German Requiem, when I was at Penn. It's not that difficult to play. You can sight read it. You can sight read the string parts. It's easy. Do we think that Brahms was an idiot because he wrote something that you can sight read? No, we do not. And yet, it feels like, as composers, we have this weird pressure from the Academy to like nest all our tuplets and make, you know, really strange harmonic choices that are not intuitive within the grammar of Western tonal music. Or, you know, just like a weird sort of thing like, oh, if anyone can do it, then you must be just anyone. And I'd like to push back against that a little bit, in the sense that that's not the music I grew up loving. You know, it wasn't like, oh, I like only the most difficult music. That's not the music that made me a composer. It's not the music that inspired me when I was a kid or a teenager or a student coming up through the ranks. It was the stuff that I could play. And so I sort of wonder if composers should stop worrying about being as intellectual as possible and start thinking about what reaches the next generation. What inspired you to become a musician? What inspired you to write more music? Yeah, so, you know, to me is important. I think about the girl aged, you know, in middle school, maybe having the opportunity to sing some of my music and thinking, oh wow, it's a woman, it's a girl wrote this. Maybe I could write music one day.